Well, our KTVB meteorologists are in the tricky business of predicting the future so that we can all plan accordingly, snow, wind, rain, or shine. But how do they look ahead in time and put together a forecast? Do they roll the dice, flip a coin, ask a fortune teller? Some people may think it's that haphazard, but there's a lot more to it. As Bree Eggers shows us, some meteorologists have their heads in the clouds and they send balloons up there too.
We've all heard the saying about the weather in Idaho.
Wait 10 minutes, it'll change.
I mean, the weather's always changing. It's ridiculous.
Or how about the other adage that forecasters hear all too often?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, get paid to be wrong.
Or paid to lie.
Yeah.
I've heard that one. I've heard that one before.
Well, forecasting the weather is predicting the future, and meteorologists like Wassel Huco at the National Weather Service in Boise don't have a crystal ball. What we have are computer forecast models. Lots of them.
And we've gone from one model to like a cajillion models, okay? Not really a cajillion, but a lot of models.
But before the models can predict the future, they need to know what the weather is like right now.
Those models got to start somewhere, and they start with what's happening now. And as they go through time and space, they use their sophisticated programming and the algorithms to calculate, what's going to happen in the atmosphere.
That's where the weather balloon will rise to the occasion. Taking this with it, a radio sonde transmitting information from a cross-section of the atmosphere, temperature, humidity, pressure.
So it's actually broadcasting once per second this information, and it's got a GPS in there that we use for tracking wind direction and speed.
Typically filled with hydrogen or sometimes helium, the balloons are sent up on an important mission.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's do it! Woo!
And then it's up, up, and away through the troposphere into the stratosphere, traveling at a speed of about 1,000 feet per minute. And around 2 hours later, the balloon is at a height of more than 20 miles above the Earth's surface. And through the entire flight, it's sending back important information to our forecast models that will make them work, ideally.
If you have bad data as an input for the models, then you're going to get bad data out.
And sometimes a bad forecast can be blamed on limited data. So picture this, across the United States, there are more than 90 National Weather Service sites where a balloon will be launched twice a day. So if you're forecasting in the Midwest or on the East Coast, for example, you have all of these sites to give a three-dimensional view of the atmosphere that will be our input for our forecast model before the storm ever gets here. It looks really good in the forecast models. You have a great idea of what that storm is going to do. But if you're forecasting for a storm on the West Coast, well, we don't have many, if any, sample sites to give us a cross-section of the atmosphere. So what goes into our forecast models here in Boise? Mostly data from satellites out over the ocean.
Yeah, the satellite picture, they've come a long way, with their sensors and whatnot, but I don't think anything beats like being there, you know what I mean? Actually going through the atmosphere. And that's what these do.
It's the difference between a picture from above our fluid atmosphere or what a balloon gives us, a 3D picture from top to bottom.
To get a three-dimensional vertical profile of the atmosphere.
Weather balloons have been used to observe our atmosphere since the late 1800s, becoming even more useful in the 1930s with the implementation of radio technology. But you might be thinking, with numerous technological advances over the last several decades, why are we still using century-old forecasting methods? Well, even weather balloons and their tracking equipment have been upgraded over the years. This big dish at NWS Boise was recently put out of commission by these two stationary antennas. How long ago did we stop using this?
About 2 weeks ago.
That's it?
Yeah.
So this is real new.
Exactly, yeah.
And now it's...
Yeah, we're using those two antennas up there. Those, one's the Omni and one's the Yagi.
Those antennas tracking the balloons and listening for their data. Starting at about 5 feet in diameter, and as the pressure decreases with increasing altitude, the balloon grows to 10 times its original size. 2 hours to the top, some gorgeous views of our planet and atmosphere, and then the pop. And a parachute helps to slow its trip back down to Earth, where your friendly local meteorologist is working on your all-important forecast.
You feel like you're helping people, in a sense, by getting the forecast right and warning them when you see something bad coming, give them a heads up.
Of course, what goes up has to eventually come down, and down it comes with a parachute to assist in the landing. You get the balloon and a radio sonde, and if you find one of these, it usually comes along with a bag that has pre-postage paid, so you can ship it all back to the National Weather Service and they can dispose of it properly, although they say only about 20% of them are ever sent back, and many of them drift so far away that they're never even found. I'm meteorologist Bree Eggers, Idaho's News Channel 7.